welcome to Pain in the Podcast, your place to find out everything you've ever wanted to know about pain. My name's Dr. Joseph Parsons, and I'm joined by the wonderful Don Wijasoria and Dr. Joshua Craw, and today we're talking about pain in the media. Welcome in.
Hello and welcome to Pain in the Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about how chronic pain is portrayed, everything chronic pain within the media, whether that's the theatre, movies, books,
Video games.
OnlyFans, who knows. But before we get onto that, Joe, tell us a fact about yourself.
I was part of a generation where camera phones were very poor quality and where very few pictures have survived of my sort of pre-16-year-old life. One of the photos that has survived of me from my early school days is a picture that is freely available on Google if you ever find out what school I went to, which was for some reason in Year 7, our school celebrated World Banana Day, where our head teacher dressed up as a...
They're basically our cousins, so I can see why.
This is true. There's something about Genghis Khan being 200% banana. I'll find it and put it on the Instagram. But our head teacher dressed up as a banana, and there's loads of us just like aggressively waving bananas at a camera. And that's one of like maybe 10 pictures that exists of me in secondary school.
I have a few.
Of me?
Him in secondary school?
For the listeners of this, I'm currently in the stages of planning Dr. Joseph Parsons' stag do.
Oh, Jesus.
And as part of that, I have done a deep dive into his past, and I have collated a lot of information, both embarrassing and necessary.
And none of it will ever be revealed to listeners.
We might, who knows, but he's in trouble.
Oh, God.
Moving on.
Yeah, so my fact is I'm incredibly pro-union and pro-strike.
Okay.
Yeah, as a resident doctor working in the UK, at the time of filming this, we've voted again to strike. That's it. You're right. The resident doctors, those greedy doctors, we're here. We want more money, or we'll go.
Way to keep it light, Josh.
So yeah, I'm very pro-union. I grew up in sort of a small village in rural Yorkshire with multiple pit villages surrounding it. So yeah.
And he's one of the 4% of working class doctors.
Son of a bitch, I'm in. Yeah.
So, yeah, he definitely has every right to be pro-union.
I did put my fist in the air then, for those that can't see us, which is everybody other than Don and Joe.
Anyway, Don, what's your fact about yourself this week?
My fact is, I like Muji pens.
Okay.
The Japanese store Muji make really good pens.
What is Muji?
Muji is a Japanese homeware stationery, clothing, furniture store. And yeah, they make food as well. They've got interesting food.
Hot damn.
And yeah, it's kind of like a Uniqlo, but for everything.
Uniqlo for everything else.
Yes.
Anything you can't buy at Uniqlo,
Yeah.
you can buy at Muji.
Oh, my mum absolutely loves their spoons, Muji spoons. She literally goes, like, she didn't realise that there was a Muji store in London. And so when she went to visit my sister in Melbourne, she brought back like a dozen spoons. Like, they're like the big utility cooking spatula spoon things. I don't know why this is vital information for you, but there you go.
What's Uniqlo?
Uniqlo.
Oh.
Uniqlo. It's a clothing brand.
Okay.
What's a Josh?
Josh is like, the only clothing brand I've ever heard of is Marks and Spencer.
Patagonia? Primark?
They're very opposite ends of the scale there.
Well, yeah.
And they all both begin with P's. That's the only brands I know. Puma.
Interesting fact about Puma. Puma was made by Carl Dassler, brother of Adi Dassler, who were the Dassler brothers who made the company Adidas, and then they had a falling out, and Adidas and Puma were made by two brothers.
Same with North Face and Patagonia.
Made by two siblings.
That's wrong. It wasn't.
I was about to say
they weren't siblings.
I knew
but
that was
they
a
were
lie.
two friends who did have a falling out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Patagonia's better, just in case anybody's wanting to get into
He took a much more
ethical
approach.
Don, we know about your fact. How about your learning for the week?
So what I've learned about myself this week is that I am a massive liar. I told myself that I would give myself a break from badminton so that I could focus on rehab and getting fitter.
And you did tell people on the podcast this.
And I did tell you guys this. I think that lasted for approximately a month, maybe 2 months, if that. And I've gone back to badminton.
Addicted.
It's an addiction. And also, I just got lonely. It's weird just swimming on your own and going to the gym on your own.
Yeah. Do you have any videos or maybe shorts that show you playing badminton?
Cheeky little plug, but yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Don is part of the Badmintons.
I didn't come up with the name.
I think it's a good name.
I came up with the name.
It's a very London name.
Honestly, it has been wildly successful. It's an Instagram account of memes and shorts with badminton themes. And actually, even if you don't like badminton, they're still quite funny.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. Also, you get to see Don hitting some unreal shots. We'll share some on our social media.
I mean, unreal, both good and bad. Mostly bad.
No, mostly good. Some of the shots, they've got one of him where he's basically a ninja. Just the movements he's doing, he just honestly...
I'm just running across the court really, really stealthily.
dressed in all black.
And then he assassinates his opponent.
From that, with a sharpened badminton racket.
But no, a lot of kudos to, a lot of the credit goes to my friend Yoni, who's does most of the content editing and all that. Thank you, Yoni.
Did you come back just for the memes?
It might have been the reason, yes. We kind of had to do a bit more. I had to play a bit of badminton so that we could record stuff for the page, and then that's kind of when I got back into things. But I just thought, since it's been my birthday recently, thank you very much, Joe, for the wonderful birthday cake.
We'll get on to that in a minute.
I just thought, you know what? There's no need to force yourself to be lonely. Let's just enjoy your time with your friends and enjoy doing what you love, which might also be a serious addiction.
But speaking of your birthday, Don.
Yes, Joe. What have you learned this week?
I learned that I am not very good at baking birthday cakes. And when I say not very good, I mean absolutely horrendous. I will share a picture of this. It was Don's birthday recently. I said to my fiancée, I'm going to make Don an extra special cake for his birthday. And Lord, extra special it was.
It's just so wet.
Don, how did you describe it?
So I think it's important to know what the key ingredient of the icing was. And
it's pistachio cake with ground pistachios in it and apparently some shell.
Lots of shell.
Which I thought was incredible because
the sponge
we all love pistachio. I think you and I especially. Like when we went to that cafe in Sheffield, we loved their pistachio flavored stuff, and so I really liked the fact that it was pistachio. But there were quite a few pistachio shells in there. I was wondering why not just use the de-shelled pistachios instead of de-shelling it yourself.
Have any, and I de-shelled like 140 pistachios myself. It took a really long time.
I appreciate it so much. That's why I'm giving it so much slander. But
it's worse that the shells weren't the worst thing about it.
The colour, as listeners can probably imagine, the colour of all these pistachios made it, a really wonderful, vibrant green. In some lights, in the light that I saw it in, it wasn't quite so vibrant. In fact, it looked, because of the shape of the cake as well, and because it was so wet.
It was wet because the cream and the cream cheese separated. For context, it wasn't the sponge wasn't wet. The icing remained
was wet,
almost liquid.
Yes, but that did mean that it looked like Shrek's bed after him and Fiona had a very steamy night.
Amorous.
It was We'll put a picture on the social media, and you can.
It's just so wet.
You can give me your. It didn't have a soggy bottom though, despite how wet it was. No soggy bottoms here.
Yeah, we like a dry bottom.
We do.
So my learning for this week is I've relearnt my love for reading.
You have. We were chatting about this earlier on.
Yeah, in one of the other episodes, if you wanted to go back and listen to that, you can hear about my opinions on Adam Kay's book, This Is Going to Hurt. But
Episode 22. Check it out.
So I've been... when you're a doctor, when you've been through 7 years of university, reading becomes tedious because you're not reading for pleasure. And I had a good solid couple of 3 years where I was just didn't read very much whatsoever. But I've got back into it and I'm really enjoying it now.
Other than This Is Going to Hurt, any other good books recently?
Yes.
And so with my cake making thoroughly put to shame, what are we going to be talking about today, Don?
Today, Joe, we will be talking about chronic pain and its portrayal in the media. Not just the portrayal of it, but I guess how it's interpreted, how it's represented, everything that you can think of. Well, maybe not everything, but yeah. As much as
Everything we could think of.
Everything we could think of.
So we will be looking at film, TV, books, video games,
YouTube,
theatre.
TikTok. Well, maybe not TikTok.
I don't know. Possibly. Who knows?
TikTok can suck my dick.
Dick talk. I'm sure that's a sub theme of either way. I digress. The media is obviously very powerful. And cultivation theory is this idea that exposure to the media is key in formulating our attitudes. And so obviously, with there being a lot of power in the media, how it portrays pain will make a big difference into how pain is perceived by the wider public.
I think it can really carve out sort of like public opinion as well. So do we show somebody who has, say, like chronic knee pain, myself, just jumping in there? How do we...
Or not jumping, indeed. With
not
your
jumping
chronic
at
knee
all,
pain.
because this is the pain. This is how they're going to be portrayed, no jumping. What I mean is, though, are we representing them in a positive light, a negative light? What attitudes do the characters have whilst interacting with those people? These are all things that I think need to come into a context of chronic pain. Don, do you think... What do you feel? Do you feel like overall chronic pain's portrayed as a good thing, or what do you think?
I think it's too early on in the episode for me to decide on that just yet, but we will get to that. But that kind of leads me on to the question of how often do you wish, or do you kind of want to see something such as a movie, read a book, a play, anything that has an element of chronic pain, whether it's a character or whether it's the actual topic or plot itself?
Never.
What about you, Joe?
For me, I think it depends. So I think I do like the idea of having some representation on screen, but I'm not sure how much of a good story it would make.
So would you watch something that was only about chronic pain?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think I'd watch something that was about chronic pain. I haven't actually watched it, but this quote really made me want to watch it. There's a film called Frida, which is about Frida Kahlo. She was, I think, in a bus crash as a kid and had like loads of spinal surgeries to try and resolve back issues and basically never recovered from her pain.
Yeah.
And said that the surgery actually made it worse and that like...
Where a lot, like there was that painting that she did where she was just covered in... I think there were I might be remembering this wrong, but there was just a bunch of screws and medical equipment just like drilled into her spine, something along those lines. I can't remember the exact painting, but yeah. But
in that film, she says a quote that I really love, which is her father asks her what her plans are with her future. Basically, like she's pretty much... My understanding is she's pretty much bedbound and stuff. And she says, right now, I'm a burden, but I hope to be a self-sufficient cripple one day. And I feel like that's just all I want from my life. I just want to be a self-sufficient cripple one day.
I've got the crippled part down.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on what the storyline is. I don't think I wouldn't be interested, if that makes sense. But I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to be like, oh, I think there should be more films about pain.
I wonder how much of our audience would think that.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Going back to your answer before, Josh, why would you not want to see more of that?
I mean, I don't really go out and just think, oh my God, do you know what I really fancy now? Seeing somebody in pain. That'd just be great. It never occurs to me. It's never like, oh my God, I need to search out and look for somebody who's got a realistic depiction of insert condition.
Oh, okay, because realistic, yeah, I'm not sure, but just general pain, I'd say Home Alone's quite a good watch.
Oh, that's funny. That's slapstick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not chronic pain. It's showing you about acute pain, isn't it? And I think that's... We have talked to some people high up in media chains, and from what they've said is that you do typically get that high impact sort of pain that's represented, not necessarily the slow burning arthritis, but like getting hit in the head with a hammer, getting electrocuted. I'm talking about Home Alone here.
Yeah.
What's particularly interesting with that, though, is we were talking with a producer who's worked like on multiple BBC productions, who's worked as a director in the theatres, who's worked as an actor himself. And he was saying what he finds particularly interesting is that we have these portrayals in TV and film of quite like, I guess, graphic violence and gratuitous violence, like someone in a fight scene will get kicked across the room. And realistically, one, that wouldn't happen because no one's got the power, and two, you'd probably die. But he was saying that it's very different in how people want to see pain in the theatre.
Yeah, so I think it would be very strange to see a Marvel production in theatre.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get the same entertainment value from seeing a guy getting dragged across the stage with very obvious strings or thingamajiggies, the cables,
Yeah.
as opposed to them, like, one of the characters just kicking another character through 5 walls.
Plus
It's just not going to have the same effect.
The CGI.
Yeah, but even still, like if you imagine like a Tom Cruise fight scene where he's doing a lot of his own stunts, like if you saw that in real life, it probably would be quite traumatic.
Yeah,
Like, if I was watching someone just get donkey kicked across a stage, I think I would be like, wow, that feels like they can't have done that in a way that didn't actually hurt the person.
Yeah, it almost been too real.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, we sort of have this desensitization and detachment from what we see on screen. Like we're not physically seeing the people there. We don't feel their presence, but we see what happens to them, and we see, oh, they're going through pain. Oh, there's this thing that's going to really hurt. But like, if we saw that on stage, are we going to, if it's convincingly acted, are we then going to be, oh my God, I actually hope he's okay. He gets dragged off stage. Crap, is he going to the hospital? I mean, there was that. Do you remember Tommy Cooper?
Yes.
He had a massive coronary event. He had like a massive heart attack on stage. Dropped.
Yeah.
People started laughing because they thought it was part of his act.
Yeah. It was on TV, wasn't
It was
it?
live TV, yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were watching it. Not live in person, but they were watching it live on television. It was like, ooh, shit.
Something's gone wrong there. And he actually died on screen because it is that kind of, I guess that's the difficulty, isn't it? It's separating the reality. It's trying to make something that is unreal enough that people can enjoy it. Whereas if something is too real, like this producer that we were speaking to was saying that he knows of a production called Punch, which was on at the Young Vic in the West End, and it was written about a true story of someone who basically killed someone with a single punch.
Oh, so one punch fight sort of thing.
Exactly. And it does make you think, like, I can't imagine how that must come across in a theatre. That must be really quite traumatic.
Yeah, the anime depiction of it is a lot better, I think. No? You guys not heard of One Punch Man?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But no, yeah, to see that in a theatre would be, I think, horrific. Yeah. Fairly harrowing.
That visceral reaction to something like that, because
Yeah.
that is the crux of the show, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the impetus that entirely dictates the plot.
Yeah. But it would be interesting, wouldn't it, like, to see, like, obviously that's a very realistic portrayal of violence, but it would be interesting to see what would happen to something like a Marvel film, for example, if they made the responses to violence realistic. So rather than the person getting, like, absolutely launched into a side of a school bus and then, like, kind of shaking it off, if Batman just gets killed immediately. I know he's not Marvel. I was Batman.
No, I'm dead.
But yeah,
Speaking of Batman, Bane. Is that Chronic Pain?
I've never actually seen that Batman movie.
Have you not?
Oh, The Dark Knight Rises.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Is it The Dark Knight Rises?
That's
Whatever
The
one
Dark
it is,
Knight
it's pretty
Rises,
good.
yeah. I think it is. I don't know.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
But yeah, I think it is. It's shocking how kind of desensitized we are to that level of violence now.
And I think just harking back to that producer that you was talking about that we semi-interviewed but had a frank discussion about in the media with. They were saying with things like, for example, British soap operas like EastEnders, when a character's going to die, it's typically not a drawn-out sort of long thing. It's usually something quite quick, quite instantaneous, like they have a car crash.
Yeah.
A piano drops on the head, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Is that what the sound, the dum, 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 is that just pianos dropping?
Hope we don't.
on people's heads.
We're not putting that in, are we?
Are we? I don't know.
Oh well, copyright. Well, hopefully it's not going to get
It's
picked
not
up.
copyright, it's using it in satire. You can use it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but then mentioned that, like, for example, the character of Pat Butcher, who was I think she was in it for decades, wasn't she?
Yeah, I'm going to look up how long she was in it for. Carry on.
Yeah, well, she had cancer.
Yeah.
And it was quite a long sort of plot line for that.
Yeah.
And rather than seeing this instant thing and the fallout, it was just quite sad, and it's almost too real.
It was kind of pushed behind the scenes. Well, I guess not behind the scenes, but it was kind of pushed aside because they didn't want that to be, I guess, everything. They didn't want that to be the thing that most watchers remembered.
Yeah, and I suppose
26 years, by the way. To Pat Butcher, 26 years she was in
that is
EastEnders.
an entire career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
genuinely.
And the thing is about things like the BBC and what have you, they've got a higher level of standards, haven't they? They've got to portray things more accurately. They can't just think, oh yeah, this is it. We've got cancer, here's a miracle cure, they're fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do
They-
send researchers out to
Yep.
go and look at like things like palliative care, look at sort of
People in hospices.
precisely.
And I always remember, because my mum used to watch the soaps, I've not watched them in 20 years. And I remember at the end of episodes, if there was something hard hitting, that there'd be a little message at the end, which is like,
If you're
you've been
affected by
by
this.
what you've seen in this episode, please reach out to
Mm.
charities or
Yeah.
helplines or what have you.
Mm.
Because that's the thing, where the media does portray things that happen in real life, and it is going to affect people in real life.
I think you made a really interesting point during that discussion we were having off air, though, Josh, about who gets affected, like who you feel sorry for in the storyline.
Yeah, so like, if somebody dies a quick death or a quick painful thing, it's usually the family that we're focusing on. It's the fallout after that. So
The
somebody dies
grief.
in a car crash, it's the children, it's the partner, it's the rest of the family in the community. Whereas if the media wants to focus more on the journey of the character, that's when you're going to have that prolonged sort of multiple episode arc where the character is going through cancer, for example.
Yeah.
I suppose the same's true with chronic pain. It's about the character as opposed to the impact they have on people.
So I've got a bit of a difficult question for you then, open to the floor. If you are looking at this, like Pat Butcher had cancer in EastEnders, and it was this long, drawn-out process, and you're kind of, I suspect, meant to feel sorry for her and the suffering that she's going through. So if you were to watch something that is portraying someone with chronic pain, do you want it to be displayed in this way? Like, how do you make sure that people just don't end up pitying people in pain? Like, how can you present them without just inducing pity?
I mean, yeah, I'd love to see someone with chronic pain doing the absolute best that they can do, overcoming all these challenges, running a marathon, whatever it is. But I think people with chronic pain would not quite resonate with that because they know what the true experience of that is. They know that they can't expect themselves to overcome these incredible challenges that easily. And so some people might not appreciate that because it's not a true depiction of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not exactly inspirational. If it is just them, if it is such a true depiction of things. And so, yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to balance there.
Yeah, I think what's a great example of this is there was a film that was created by the UK National Institute of Health Research, the NIHR, that fund like major national research, and they made a film called Struggling to Be Me with Chronic Pain, and they basically did a study looking at responses to people's comments on YouTube, basically, and loads of it was like, thank you so much for giving me the film to let people know how I feel, like, thank you so much for posting this and making me feel not alone. But then, like, a handful of people said, this isn't a true picture of someone in pain. She can drive, she can walk, she can make a cup of tea. I wouldn't be able to ride the bus with my pain. It'll make people think that pain's just in our heads. So it's like, your idea of presenting someone in pain positively seems like it gets almost an equal amount of backlash as it does support.
What did the people want?
I don't know, Don.
I don't know either. What do I want? What do you want?
I think it was particularly the British public though. You can never make anybody happy. Genuinely, like what can you do? There's always going to be somebody that say no, it's unrealistic, or no, you're overdoing it. Like even if it's complete accurate depiction of somebody's journey, and that's because pain and chronic pain in particular is such an individual thing. Like everybody feels it differently. Like having rheumatoid arthritis or having ankle spond or something along those lines, it's very individual. my threshold for pain is very different for yours, Joe, maybe, or from yours,
Yeah.
or from the old lady down the street who's got osteoarthritis or has had spinal surgery. It's something that's just so individualistic that it's impossible to please everybody.
But do you think the solution for that, therefore, is to make less of a thing of showing it on screen and make it more normalised? So have more characters with small subplots about their own health? Do you think that would be a better way of normalising it? Is just having more characters who, in EastEnders, let's have 50% of the over 60-year-olds having arthritis because it's probably a pretty realistic figure. And do you make it that every time that you see Dorothy walk into the pub, she's limping because she's got OA in her knee? Like, this is what I mean. Do you make it more normalised, more realistic that, oh yeah, we know Dorothy has OA, but it's not really a big part of her character? Or do you keep it as it seems to be at the minute, which is, if pain is talked about, it's a big focus of what's being talked about?
But I think, harking back to what we were talking about with the producer that we had a conversation with, it's not about getting everything 100% right, it's about what is important to lead the story. So, do we have to get everything right? Every time I stand up, do I just sort of, my knee, no, don't do I?
No, that's an interesting point, Josh. And I think it would be funny. Can you imagine, like, any of the Marvel films where Thor has, I don't know, arthritis or gout?
That's when Marvel are really scraping the barrel, and it's like Thor: The Last Stand.
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, right. I think in a lot of these sort of shows or films or theatre where chronic pain does take more of a role, or where someone is experiencing more pain, even in an acute setting, I think the problem that I have personally, and I don't know whether this is a bad thing or whether this is just a me problem, but I think a lot of the time people are portrayed very negatively. So if you take, for example, there was this... what's the film with Jennifer Aniston called, where she's got chronic pain?
The Proposal. Nope.
Jennifer Aniston? Chronic pain?
Jennifer Aniston, I think that was... Oh, was that the 2014 Cake?
Yes,
Cake movie.
That's the one, Cake. So this was like quite a big box office seller, but it's presenting her as someone who's dealing with chronic pain, but like so much of it is her trying to like trick doctors into giving her opioids. It's her like being really disruptive at like pain groups and stuff. And I think the only blockbuster hit that I know of that involves someone with chronic pain as a protagonist is one where she's presented as effectively... like they make her appear as a drug addict. That's the way in which they've tried to present her. Yeah. Which also...
Is this Cake?
This is Cake,
This
yeah.
is Cake.
And so it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I think building on that as well, I think one of the, particularly for me in the medical field, I think one of the biggest portrayals of a character in major media is House. So Luke Laurie playing House. Anybody that doesn't know, he's playing a genius doctor because they're always geniuses. Who knew that, eh?
We've got one right here. We've got our very own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don.
Oh, wait, Josh.
I'm a savant. So yeah, Hugh Laurie playing House. His entire character is his genius, is absolutely brilliant at diagnosing things, but his big flaw is that he had an infarction in his leg. The leg keeps switching, by the way, which doesn't happen in real life. He's had an issue with his leg, and now he's got the cane. Yeah, so it portrays him as somebody with a disability. He had an infarction or muscle death within his spine, which left him with chronic pain. And it's him living his life, being a doctor. But also it portrays quite a darker side to that, and it shows what I think is a rather exaggerated depiction of addiction.
Yeah.
So, in House, the character of House is using his pain as an excuse to abuse drugs, effectively.
Yeah.
And he's saying, I can't function without it, it's just getting back to baseline. And you do see him hitting rock bottom throughout it.
Yeah.
You see him overdose, you see him like blatantly just taking drugs in a hospital whilst he's in front of patients.
Wow.
And I just don't think that's a positive representation for people living with chronic pain.
But is it a realistic one?
Well, no.
Hopefully not.
But I mean, there was actually, funnily enough, there was a research study that put two videos of House, one where he was not injured like, I don't know, there was a flashback, something pre-injury, and one where he had like the obvious limp, he was walking with a cane and stuff, and they looked at, like, they used different questionnaires and things to measure empathy and to measure pity and stuff like that, and there was no difference in like the desire to help the character, the desire to like the likability of the character. The only thing that changed between the two was that they pitied the character more in pain. And I think this harks back to what I was saying earlier on, is with Pat Butcher, for example, it was a pity thing. That's kind of, they wanted you to feel sorry for her and her suffering. And again, here it seems like people take chronic pain or any presentation of pain as an opportunity to feel sorry for someone rather than any other kind of emotion.
And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be pitied.
Not at all.
Like, okay, I'm a doctor, I've got chronic pain, it's in my leg. It doesn't define me, it doesn't alter me so much that I'm just this fiend. I don't make it my defining character. Like, I don't think anybody at work would know that I'm in chronic pain.
And you know what? This is separate to pain in the media, but I have worked with a lot of people in therapy as in physio and occupational therapy, not therapy as in psychological therapies, who are very, very negative towards people with chronic pain, particularly fibromyalgia. And they always complain about the fact they're like, oh, well, they're always talking about it, and they've made it their whole personality. And you just think, or at least I think, if you gave them the time and you listened to them that first time, if you really gave them the attention they deserved, would they keep coming back? Would they keep feeling like they had to make it their personality? It's, in my opinion, it's the lack of belief, the lack of validation that makes people feel they have to lean into that disease identity.
Well, yeah, I mean, we see it going into social media, we see entire communities revolved around talking about chronic pain. I do think for some people that is important, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that there are people out there that feel the same as you. But if you need to get engagement on social media, being more out there, showing more of the extremes, that gets you more clicks. It's more sexy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, not sexy, but you know what I mean? It's more higher impact. People are going to listen to it rather than just the grumblings of you or me saying, oh yeah, my knee was actually quite hurting today. I had to take an extra couple of paracetamol and ibuprofen.
Yeah, but there are definitely times where, I'll be honest, I would appreciate a little bit of pity. Maybe not pity, but more empathy.
Sympathy.
Sympathy is the right word.
And empathy as well.
Yeah, just so that they know what kind of state I'm in that day. Because it's different every day, but yeah.
And it's really hard with something that's not, like, visible.
Yep.
Invisible illness makes it so much more difficult. Because if you imagine, like, you've got someone who's got Crohn's, for example,
Yeah.
is like, that can be a crippling condition. It can leave you, like, unable to go anywhere without knowing where the nearest toilet is, spending an hour at a time on the toilet. Like, how are you meant to maintain a normal life when you have such limitations because of your health? But it's invisible. People can't see it. And obviously no one's coming into the toilet and holding your hand with you. They're not seeing what you're going through.
Yeah, and how can you show that in media? Are you going to have a movie that's an hour and a half long and an hour of it is you sat on the toilet?
Yeah, I mean, we did make we were talking to a friend of ours who has colitis, and he was saying that a funny scene to be portraying chronic pain would be to have like a bank robbery or something where one of them has colitis and they're like breaking out.
Well, one of the robbers has colitis.
One of the robbers has colitis. And they just like have to stop for 20 minutes, half an hour. He was just like, just imagine I'm acting in this and I have to stop and have a dump for half an hour and then I can run away. Not to make light of anyone's experience. This was his comments about his own health. So
It's funny. But this also this conversation just reminded me of how people with sensory impairments are represented in media as well. So, for example, the movie Coda, I think it was an Apple movie from a few years ago, about I won't tell you what it's about, but it was about.
What it's about? What it's about is.
But it was about a deaf family and how the family dynamics, how they kind of cope with their challenges, how they look to the future, all this and that. And it was an incredibly beautifully written story, shot really well, and it won a lot of awards. And I think that was a really good movie for the amount of attention that it brought to those kinds of impairments.
Yeah.
And I think if the same thing was to happen for people with chronic pain, that would also be quite significant. And I think maybe that might be in the makings. Who knows? We don't know.
Hopefully.
There's a lot of movies out there that we haven't seen or.
That's
not
true.
been
Yeah.
exposed to.
Yeah.
But at the minute, I mean, like I said before, you had that movie like Cake and stuff, but they're like these group of researchers basically analysed like films that had protagonists with chronic pain that had been nominated for Academy Awards, Golden Globes, etc., that had made over 50 million in box office sales. And like themes that came out of that were that like characters were dependent on other people, they relied on them for transport, for like washing and dressing, for any sort of nursing care. There's loads of discussions of the chronic pain being so severe that people want to commit suicide. It's always a really negative portrayal. And so it's quite difficult to imagine, because with like a deaf family, for example, I think it's maybe a little bit easier for people to fathom what it might be like. It obviously, like, putting ear defenders on doesn't make you fully deaf, but you can imagine what life is like without one of your senses.
That's
but
true.
to have a sensation that you've never felt before, it would be really interesting to know your thoughts, listeners, on how you could create a good storyline that enlightens people about chronic pain, but without it being almost like a pity party or...
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with who is writing the movie or the piece of content, how it's being filmed, how it's actually being how it's being shown on what media.
Yeah.
What medium, sorry. I think there's definitely the chance for the public perception of things to change with that kind of powerful media.
Versus Arthritis, you've heard us mention them before, possibly on this podcast. They're like the national charity in the UK, and they basically did a big survey of 4,000 people with arthritis to ask them about like TV and film and whether they thought that it'd be good to be like portrayed in TV and film, like having a realistic character, whether they felt it would help to prompt conversations and stuff. And the majority of people felt that they would like to see someone like them portrayed and that they felt it would prompt conversations. But actually, Versus Arthritis kind of summarised all these responses into like a checklist of ways that film and media could improve the way that they present chronic pain. I don't know if you want to take us through them.
So one of the 7 points was that they ensured that the character experience was authentic and well researched, including the symptoms and treatment options of those specific conditions.
Also, they advise that you speak to people with pain about day-to-day experiences and try to weave those real-life experiences into the story so that you've got something that is genuinely authentic, harking back to that last point you said. And where possible, you can have the writers working with the performers and with the people with these lived experiences.
Absolutely. And I think representing things like how chronic pain can fluctuate as well is really important. I think there tends to be this idea that if someone has chronic pain or has a health condition in a film, like that it's always bad days. Is like take The Fault in Our Stars, for example, where one of the protagonists has cancer. It's always her health is terrible, but she manages to have a good day because she can like overcome it emotionally for the day and kind of deal with her physical suffering. But actually, like, I was very privileged to do a placement in palliative care, and people do have up and down days health-wise. People who look like they're on death's door one day have a miraculous turn and have another month of good quality life. So I think it's understanding that health does fluctuate is of value.
Yeah, and harking back to that as well is that people do have good days. Like, people can live well, not just good days, but people can live well with the condition.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, just because you've got a disability doesn't mean you can't live essentially a normal life and manage.
Yeah. And also, like, when you see people managing their pain, or even when there's a positive thing, one of the suggestions they had is, like, think about body language and facial expression, like, make it realistic. Because it's like, if we all winced every time we were in pain, like, you'd just be constantly, like, contorted faces.
Is that what your face looks like?
No comment, Your Honour.
Another thing that would make it help, that would keep it more authentic, is kind of portraying how strong people are with chronic pain. and how they put up these faces, how they put those smiles on, just to get through the day. I think that's really powerful.
100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely though. And I think the thing as well is particularly media is the language that's used.
Yeah.
And also like what that language signals about the experience of living with pain.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I very rarely voice my pain beyond saying something like, oh, my back's not good today. Like, I don't actually... When my friends or my loved ones read into me being in pain, when they recognise it, it's usually those non-language things. I think in media, sometimes there's a dependence to, like, have the character be like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain, and kind of very physical manifestations, a lot of, like, verbal affirmation of how much pain they're in. But that's not realistic.
I don't actually know how I would verbally describe it, apart from, oh, my nose hurts. Oh, I can't breathe.
Well, if you listen to our language and pain episode, listeners, you can hear how some people describe it. But I was thinking about this the other day. How do you describe your pain? Like, what?
I think I just don't, really.
Same.
I think most people describe it as like toothache.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be way too mopey and whiny if I did, though. So it's a good thing I don't do that very often.
But that leads to versus arthritis' last point of these 7, which is that try, when you're presenting someone, to not make the condition their defining characteristic.
I think that's the most important part, isn't it?
Yeah. No matter what you may feel, particularly healthcare professionals working with people with pain, you might think someone's making it their defining characteristic, but you see them for 20 minutes, half an hour out of those 168 hours a week. Top of my head, 168 hours a week? Get in.
Sure.
Yeah. That's not what makes them who they are.
No, I
and
feel
don't make it that.
I feel very strongly with this one. Don't make any one thing your entire personality, please.
It's very dull.
Please. Another thing that I'd like to bring up is, with media being so commonplace nowadays, is how it affects children. So how do they develop their ideas about what chronic pain is through what they see on TV, read in books, see in the classroom, whatever. On video games, perhaps. And so, yeah, how about we dive a bit more into that?
There was I don't know how much you guys would agree with this, like none of us have kids yet, but there was this group of 60 parents, and they were basically shown like clips from children's TV and film that displayed painful events within those films. And they were interviewed to determine like the feelings towards those films. And some of them felt that the pain was being used as like comedic and exaggerated. Some of it felt like it was being used to teach lessons to kids. Some felt that like it was a bit unrealistic because it was too short lasting, had no consequences. I'm interested, like, how would you like to see pain portrayed to these kids? What do you think is a way that's valuable to them, but without necessarily losing, like, not saying let's get rid of slapstick. Obviously, I don't think that's a good idea at all. Physical comedy can be really valuable and help to desensitize
It's fucking
kids.
hilarious.
But
Thank you, Tom and Jerry, for a very good childhood. I'm a very well-adjusted person now because of that. Thank you. But I think a good way might be... Josh, I think you mentioned this a while ago. I don't know when it was brought up, but Dumbledore and how his condition kind of was portrayed.
I think it's in The Half-Blood Prince. So prior to that, we've seen Dumbledore as this imposing figure. He is such a powerful wizard that even he who must not be named is scared of him. He is known to have defeated Grindelwald. He is the master of just magic, and he is the headmaster who is seen as like the leader of Hogwarts.
Untouchable.
Untouchable, exactly. However, from the start of book 6, we see that he now has a chronic issue. He has got that scarred hand from where he put on the Horcrux, the ring. And after that, the way that characters view Dumbledore and the way that he is portrayed is almost a lesser version of Dumbledore.
yeah,
In fact, it's so much so, spoilers, if you've not read Harry Potter, well, what are you doing?
Hey, I'm currently in the process of doing that.
Yeah. But it even gets to the point where even Draco Malfoy is attempting to kill Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And Snape kills him.
yeah.
It's almost like a mercy killing, but just to protect Draco from having to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even just in that one single point, we see how it detracts from his character and how people view him differently.
Yeah, I've not gone to that point in the books yet, but from the movies, it is clear that people's perception of Dumbledore's like reputation has kind of decreased
as a result of his health.
as a result of his health. Yeah.
So I think like maybe for kids it would be better if we're not losing the slapstick. We still have that kind of in cartoons and stuff, and we still got the Tom and Jerry aspect of things, but not again like if we're teaching young sort of teens and sort of a little bit younger as well who are watching like Harry Potter and things, that reinforces this idea of a disease identity, which I think, like we said before, the kind of thing we want to be avoiding.
Yeah.
I do think picture books can be quite interesting. Well, obviously we're going a lot younger. I'm not saying the people who are reading Harry Potter are also reading picture books simultaneously, but I think they can be a really good way for like really young kids to like help prompt empathy, to help enable discussions about pain. I think seeing things like that at a really early age can make it easier to discuss them.
Yeah, I think that is important. It is developing that sort of emotional intelligence in children, particularly when it comes to this such a broad area of pain.
Yeah.
Like, because children, knock on wood, hopefully they don't experience chronic pain. We know that it's a lesser incidence, and from previous episodes, if you've been listening, is it something like 1 in 5 children experience chronic pain? So, like, it is rarer, but it is out there. And I think for particularly younger people who are growing up with chronic pain, if they sort of develop how they see it in the media, how their cohort and other children are sort of seeing them, I think it can lead to better outcomes. I think it can lead to less self-esteem issues, less it becoming an entire characteristic that encompasses them.
Less bullying.
Yeah. And exactly on that point of bullying, there was this study showed that basically male characters were more than 3 times more likely to receive a mocking response when they display pain in TV and film.
Ah, such a little pussy.
Exactly. And so how are we meant to convince like kids and adolescents and stuff to have a healthy relationship with their own health if they grow up seeing everyone who displays any signs of pain being mocked? How are they ever meant to have those conversations and talk about it? If you listen back to episode 14, Pain in the School Curriculum, we spoke all about this, how those kind of like pre-teens and early teens can really struggle to voice about their own health conditions. And like obviously if all that young boys see is a character that's in pain getting mocked, they're not going to want to talk about their own, are they?
That's it. And if people are trained to see it as a weakness as well,
yeah,
I think we need to nip that in the bud. So the question is, do we need more people when it comes to media targeted at children? Do we need more representation?
Yeah, why is it only men? Are women represented at all?
Funnily enough, 23% of pain instances in teenagers' TV shows that from this study were women. So 70% were male. So it's massively overrepresented male pain compared to female pain.
We've talked a lot about TV, film. We've touched on social media. But I think there's something else which is ultimately much more important, which is the written word. So how is chronic pain written?
Apologies if we've not gone into your favourite type of media.
We'll get there.
Eventually, yeah.
I mean, I think you've already mentioned about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, like as a representation of pain. I've read a couple of good books recently that have sort of chronic pain presentations. Love After Love has someone with like an arthritis type pain. Carrie Soto is back, has a really nice sort of discussion of chronic pain in sports. But I don't think there is much representation in books that I've read.
One thing I sort of see is, I think it's that not a negative representation as well, is it crux in Of Mice and Men?
Yes.
So it's not his entire characteristic. Yeah, he does have disability, and there is that scene where he's putting some sort of magical ointment on his back to try and help with pain. But it shows it from a different perspective than I think we see in most things.
100%.
So it's not him, oh my God, I'm struggling with it. He is a very formidable, physical presence, despite his back pain. And it's just like, after the day, then he's tending to his wounds to try and help him sort of
recover.
Cope.
Yeah, to cope. So I think that's actually not positive, because when characters that were written back in that era, that they're never going to be a positive outlook.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like it's a more realistic and empowering description of someone suffering with pain.
Empowering is, I think, the really good
I
word
think
to
it's more
describe that,
realistic,
yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I'm just shout out here to John Steinbeck, who wrote Of Mice and Men. Just if you get the chance to read any of his books, if you want to know, I think maybe less about physical pain but suffering, understanding suffering. I've read few authors who better present suffering than John Steinbeck. So yeah, moving on from that little book recommendation, there's a lot of celebrities in the media as well who have started to open up more about their pain. I think this is a sign that despite the fact that things aren't perfect in the presentation of media, there's people who are starting to speak about it more. For example, Lady Gaga.
What's she got?
I believe Lady Gaga has fibromyalgia.
Yes, Google says she does.
And Selena Gomez has lupus.
Yeah.
Annie Lennox has, I think, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, possibly. Sinead O'Connor, rest in peace, also had EDS. So
They're all women. Why are you just mentioning lots and lots of women?
Andy Murray has chronic hip pain.
There we go.
Sir Patrick Stewart has osteoarthritis.
He does.
He's older than time itself.
Oh my gosh, Serena Williams.
Yeah, she's got Sjogren's. No,
She
no,
does?
not Serena, it's Venus that has Sjogren's.
Oh, right, okay.
We
But
might hear that on a future episode about rheumatoid arthritis.
But you can see there's a lot, in a way that I don't think happened maybe 30 years ago. There's more people who are opening up now about their pain experiences. And actually, I think in a way that's more powerful than TV or film or literature, I think people coming out now and speaking about their real life experiences with pain outside of their characters adds so much value.
Yeah. It gives a human element to it, doesn't it? It makes it relatable.
Yeah. And I think in a way, like, obviously you might watch a film and really enjoy it, but how much that film sticks with you is probably a lot less than how much your favourite actress or actor sticks with you.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to remember that person, and if you know that they, as an individual, have... Say that you love tennis, and Andy Murray was your absolute idol, seeing his experiences with pain and the way he's managed it might be really inspiring to you and might make you think about it more than you would had you just watched a film where someone had chronic hip pain, you know?
Goggins,
Yeah?
just bone on bone, just raw dogging life. So anybody that doesn't know, he just doesn't have knees. he's worn himself to nubs, but he can still do like Ironman, triathlons and
yeah.
what have you. Yeah, he just runs through it. He's just...
One thing that I do want to briefly mention before we start wrapping up, there was a Netflix documentary series recently, or not documentary series, it was a dramatised version of real events called Painkiller. And it was about Purdue Pharmaceuticals.
Seen it, it's very good.
Yeah. And the Sackler family and knowingly pushing opiate medications on massive populations of people despite knowing the potential risks of addiction and abuse. And I think it's worth going out there and seeing for anyone listening to this podcast. If you maybe have negative views of addiction, particularly if you're from the States, if you've got negative views of how people use pain medications, then I think it's worth you understanding that it's not always the individual's choice.
I think now that you mentioned it, yeah, I think that is an absolutely great representation. The reason being is you get to see several different people. You get to see like post-operative pain, they've been in an accident, see how much that pain is impacting their life, and that they're having to use these medications to cope, and just the impact, and you see that slippery descent into addiction. And I think it is really powerful, and it does highlight, as you said, Joe, that addiction is a disease in itself.
Yeah.
And we've been told by a doctor or a healthcare professional that, yeah, these tablets are going to fix everything. They're going to be absolutely fine. They're going to make it so you can work. And then you find yourself needing more and more and more. You can't stop. And then they say they're illegal, so what do you do?
Yeah. And again, I think whenever people with chronic pain are portrayed in the media, whether it's that film Cake, whether it's films with protagonists with cancer, for example, it's always opioid medication. That's the only management strategy. Which, to be fair, actually, Cake does have hydrotherapy in it. It does have people like physiotherapists in a pool working with this woman. But that is very uncommon. It tends to just be drug related. There's never any other considerations about what they do to help with their pain.
Yeah, that's a bit sad, but I think what we've taken home from this episode is there is no bright side. I think it's kind of up to us, I think, how as a consumer, as a viewer of whatever type of media you're wanting to consume, what our intentions are with that piece. So are we looking for something to distract us from our own chronic pain, or are we looking for something that can give us a bit more hope? That's something that's empowering.
Are we looking for something where someone is presented as worse than we are, so we can see that things aren't so bad? Are we looking for something that's better than we are, so we can see what we might aspire to?
Exactly. I think the intention can definitely help with our perception of it.
And so I think really the conclusion is, however chronic pain or pain more generally is portrayed in the media, it doesn't necessarily have to be any one way. It's not that pain is presented negatively or positively. It's the broader the media we can provide. People can then engage in the media that they feel represents them or that they feel is important to them. We don't have to start changing the way we make media. It's better that we can just provide some things that directly represent people, some things that are a bit more tangential, some things where it's the character's whole personality, some bits where it's barely their personality at all.
Yeah. Because I won't lie, I don't think I'd want to see a Marvel film where Hawkeye is like, I don't know, in pain for no reason, even though he often is.
Hawkeye's got gout as well. It's a very rich diet in the Marvel world.
I don't know, I just thought of Hawkeye as like the weakest one. Sorry, Hawkeye. Sorry, Jeremy Renner.
Renner's the strongest one.
Not in the movies.
Now that we've talked about lots of different media, how about Joe takes us off with our book review?
More media.
More media. Yeah, well, as you'll realise from all of our book reviews, there's plenty of non-fiction about pain. So if you want to learn more, a pretty good place to start is The Pain-Free Mindset by Deepak Ravindran. I've had the pleasure of working with Deepak in the past. He's now a professor at Teesside University. Mindset, each of the letters in mindset stand for something. It doesn't actually have much to do with mindset. It's not a good title because it makes it sound like it's one of these books that says, like, you can think your pain away. However, the actual content of the book is very, very good. It gives you ideas about how you can use sleep and movement and activity and diet, as well as medicine and therapy, in order to kind of look after your own health. So it's very much empowering and self-management.
What would you give it out of 10 if you was to rate it, Joe?
I think this one's got to be up there, maybe an 8.5.
8.5?
That's quite strong.
Very good.
Crikey.
It is, other than the title, it loses half a point for the title that makes you think it's a Think Your Pain Away book.
Okay. You know what I just realised? We've been talking about chronic pain's portrayal in the media, and then I realised we're the media now. What are people going to be thinking about what we're saying and what we're doing?
So maybe we need to do a podcast about the podcast.
Yeah.
Meta.
This has gone so meta. So please make it easier for us to know what you guys are thinking and leave us a comment.
Or if you'd really like to support us, you could join our Patreon, where we do have exclusive content for our members, including updates on our 20-hour challenge.
Which I am so keen to share.
Or you could see me and Don trying to dance.
Yes, indeed.
Trying.
Succeeding, I would say.
Moving for 10 minutes, yes. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from them.
Wow, it's the three Ronnies. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.